Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 45 of the Cosmic Force. And tonight is Roundtable night, and we are going to go back to the Foundational 5 for the Rise of Kylo Ren. It's going to be a really fun discussion tonight. We also have a new title in the weekly pull list, and we got a tiny speck of Star Wars news today that I'm sure we'll discuss. So let's go ahead and say hi to the rest of our team tonight. And we start where we always do with Emma. Emma, did anything happen today from a Star Wars perspective? I was kind of off slack for a little bit today.
I mean, all I gotta say is hello there, everyone.
Hello there, indeed.
It was a crazy day, that's for sure. I mean, we started the morning with two incredible comics, and then we moved into the afternoon. You know, we got some images of Sir Obi-Wan himself, and then all of a sudden, bam! There's a trailer, and it was freaking awesome. So yeah, it's just my excitement levels are off the charts. I'm so here for it.
Yes, we are all here for it. Caleb, what about you, sir? What were your thoughts on the surprise sort of trailer today?
Hello there. Yes, I was kind of a surprise because I remember like scrolling through at work. Well, I was doing real work, trust me, guys, real work. But in between real work, I was looking at all the new images that were coming out from the, I think it was like the Entertainment magazine. So we were doing like deep dives, like, ooh, who's this character? Ooh, who's this character? And literally, I don't think anyone was expecting the trailer to drop quite that soon. And there we are watching
Agreed.
about, was it a minute and 40 seconds of really high level, all gas, no brakes, octane Kenobi action. So I'm excited. I'm very curious as to how they're going to do the story, what we're going to see here. People were debating, like, I remember someone was going for the Entertainment article and said, wait, they mentioned a Grand Inquisitor. Is he going to show up? And literally an hour later, everyone's like, oh, he showed up. He's right here. He's on the screen. So I'm excited. I'm not going to say it's going to be a long wait until March 25th.
Oh, it is. It's going to be.
Oh, well, not for me. Well, we have so much other great Star Wars content, like the comics that are coming out. So I think we'll be able to alleviate ourselves and wait patiently until then. At least I will.
Speaking of great Star Wars content, if you guys didn't check out the Cosmic Force Show Twitter feed today, right before we went live, Jacob created an excellent meme for tonight's episode that kind of ties in some scenes from the trailer today and our topic tonight. Well done, sir.
Thank you. You literally told me what to do, so I really shouldn't take that much credit for it. But there we go. Everyone's favorite Snowcat, man.
Everybody's favorite Snowcat.
But yeah, you told me what to do, and then you also got the idea from Jared. So like, how much did I really have to do with this? Whatever. I threw it in GIMP. Took me like 30 seconds.
Creation is a collaborative effort.
That's true. But yeah, nothing really happened today. There's absolutely no reason that this comic book is selling for an insane amount of money right now. Not at all. It was like literally, we were talking in Slack about the Grand Inquisitor. I'm like, oh, I wonder how much this comic book is going for. And I like screenshotted it and posted it. And within like 20 seconds, Eric had posted the link to the actual thing. I'm like, oh, there we go. It's Black Chrysanthemum all over again.
It really is. Yeah.
Seriously, like, don't buy it. Like, if you're like thinking like, I really need this, don't. I like, because I was curious. I was like, literally, as Caleb was introing, I was totally paying attention, being a good producer. But no, I was looking at it and comparing it, and the Black Chrysanthemum value is already dropped off of his like debut issue. So,
but if you're selling it,
if you're selling it, now's the time. Now's the time.
It's good. Yeah.
It's like NFTs all over again.
Of course, issue 6 is the important one, and I own 1 through 5. So, rip.
That's usually how that works.
Yeah,
I do have to say that I get that he has a whole professional team working on him, but at 50 years old, I am extremely jealous of Ewan McGregor / Obi-Wan's hair and beard, because that's just, it's perfection, like in all of these images and videos, and then if I can look like that when I'm 50, I am doing something right. I'm just wanted to throw that out there.
He's a very, very handsome man. It's it's great. I love it.
All right. Well, if you are joining us live or joining us for the first time, welcome. We are a Star Wars comics podcast that broadcasts live right here on youtube.com/utini every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. But if you can't join us live, that's okay. We are also available on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. So be sure to share, give us a like over on those platforms as well. We are also a part of the Utini Podcast Network of nearly a dozen shows and a Discord channel at utini.com/Discord with more than 1,000 members and dozens of channels to choose from. And if you like what you see and you want to say thanks, then head on over to our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Utini, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain exclusive access to the entire Utini podcast network of shows, as well as exclusive merch and community involvement activities. And Emma, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can shout out to our new patrons this week.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have 2 new patrons. So I want to say a huge thank you to Lane Hickerson and Sean Faust. Thank you both so much for joining our Patreon. I hope you enjoy some of our exclusive content. And I believe that means we're getting closer to the $1,000 goal of the Living Force documentary of when the 4 of them and Timothy met for the first time. So thank you 2 for getting us even closer to that, because personally I can't wait to see it. So yeah, good stuff.
Yes, if you want to know what Emma's talking about, like I said, please be sure head over to patreon.com/Utini to check out all of that information. All right, let's go ahead and get into the weekly pull list, and we have a brand new title out this week. Jacob, we'll start with another continuation, and then we've got a brand new title.
Yeah, so we got Crimson Reign number 3, The Archivist, written by Charles Soule with pencils from Steve Cummins. The cover is by Lionel Francis Yu. The inker is Victor Olazaba. The colorist is Guru EFX, and the letterer is Travis Lanham. And then we had, the new title, Han Solo and Chewbacca, The Crystal Run Part 1, written by Mark Guggenheim, pencils by David Messina. The cover is by Alex Maleev. The colorist is Alex Sinclair, and the letterer is Joe Caramanga. So, yeah, this was I don't know, for me, it was like, this was like the first thing that was just wholly different than what we've been getting for a while. Like, we've had the post Empire Strikes Back era going on for like a little bit over a year now, 2 years now.
Going on
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we've had, the War of the Bounty Hunters and the Crimson Reign, and then we have a High Republic doing its whole thing for a little bit over a year now. So this is the first thing that's like just completely different in a long time. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy to get a little bit of a change of pace.
Anytime we can get
sure.
more of these 2 characters, I'm all for it. Especially these 2 on their own. I think that they make for some great content. So yeah, it's awesome to see these 2.
Plus, it has everyone's least favorite bounty hunter, Greedo, and we get to see him work even more as a Slimo. So, more Greedo for more baggage when that scene hits. It's always good. And Corellia, which apparently is featured in the new young adult novel in the High Republic. So it's nice to see Corellia get represented more in canon.
Yeah, I loved today's issue. I did notice something though, and I don't know if this was just me, but did you guys notice that those little brackets that they put to like denote that somebody's speaking like an alien language? Did you notice that those were like gone for Greedo?
I did see.
Yeah,
Yes.
like okay.
I did not.
I thought I was like going crazy for a second, but I was like, I'm shocked I noticed that.
Oh,
like, I'm
yeah.
slightly proud of myself.
Does Greedo speak basic now?
I guess. I mean, well, that's what I was thinking. I was like,
that's what it would imply.
Because it's
can
definitely.
You imagine what he sounds like speaking basic? That'd be so funny.
It definitely still sets it out in brackets for Jabba. So.
Well, we've seen Rodarian speak basic in like the shows, so they're capable.
I mean, it is canonical that Rhodians can speak basic according to the Clone Wars. But we'd never heard. I don't think we've heard Greedo speak basic.
I'm assuming.
And by the way, that's not a nitpick. I love the issue. I just felt really proud of myself for noticing that.
How dare you, Star Wars, not put brackets there? No, because what? I completely lost my train of thought. Anyways,
it was good. You should pick it up. Crimson Reign 3 was good too. Kind of a weird bottle issue, if almost. It kind of a very isolated single sort of thing. So. Didn't really get a whole lot of growth about the story they're going and telling, but it was still a lot of fun. Definitely worth reading.
Yeah, I think that this one held my interest the most out of the 3 we've had so far. I really, just getting the Archivist backstory. I mean, you see that character for the first time and you're like, whoa, what happened to her? And so it's nice to see that. There's some great callbacks to some other things in Star Wars in general, which was also very, very cool. So I'm excited to see what happens next. And I think now that we feel more connected to this character, I think it's only going to get better from here.
Agreed.
Yes, and as Jacob said, if you have not gotten any of these books, the links are below in the description, and so go ahead and pick those up. All right, let's get into what we're loving this week, and the main thing that we're going to talk about here is that our own Emma was on the Living Force this week, and this is we just happen to bring this up as no way to skew the vote in any which way. This is just a recap of what happened earlier on Monday. But Emma, go ahead and give us a little bit of insight into what happened on Monday's show.
Yeah, I had so much fun hanging out with Eric and Corey. We always have a ton of fun, but this was especially wild because for some reason we were just really, I mean, yes, we drafted our characters, but we were also kind of like thirsting over a lot of the High Republic characters for most of the time. And it was a lot of fun. We got some good comics content in there with some comics characters drafted, but I wanted to tell you guys, if you're watching this live, the vote is still going on. I'm in second place. We cannot let Corey win a draft ever. So I'm telling you, you gotta go to Living Force's Twitter, vote for myself. My team, I have a really good team, if I do say so myself. It's let's see, I've got we were allowed to pick 2 Jedi Masters, 2 Knights or Padawans, 1 non-Jedi, and 1 villain. So my team is Stellan Gios, Buckets of Blood, Vernestra Rowe, Orla Jareni, Zine Morala, and Lorna D. So pretty good team, if I do say so myself. But everybody's team was really great because, I mean, name a bad High Republic character. I can't. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
Rowe's a bad character. He's a bad guy.
That one scummy ship dude
in
Fallen Star that Leox hates.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
I would actually,
Well,
yeah, I can see that. But anyways, the majority of them are great.
Yeah, he sucks on purpose though, so it shouldn't really count.
It's true. What the heck was his name? It's like on the tip of my tongue. But
he was the owner of the Ace of Staves. That's the only thing I remember.
That's exactly right. So yeah, go back and watch that. Draft episodes are always some of my favorites. We had Eric on for our comics creator draft, which is a blast, and I jokingly said that we're gonna just fill up the summer with drafts. We'll see what happens. I am in charge of scheduling. So.
Coley Lynn is the character's name.
Coley Lynn. Okay.
Yeah, that dude sucks.
Well, actually, speaking of,
I was gonna say that's a forgettable
Star,
name anyway.
It is forgettable, but the reason I thought I knew it is because I just worked on a video for the Fallen Star. I'm gonna plug something else because why not? Tomorrow coming out, I have a Fallen Star recap video here on YouTube. We're trying to make more recap content using Charles's recaps that he makes for the Living Force because he works so hard on them, and then it's just kind of like over, and we're like, oh, we should make more content of this because personally, when I'm going back reading through books or saying, hey, I read this, but I have no idea what happened, I always look on YouTube. There's never really great content about recaps on YouTube, so we're trying to fill that gap starting tomorrow. Fallen Star recap.
All right. If you are joining us live, we've gone ahead and put the link in the chat. And if you are checking us out sometime later this week, head over to Living Force Pod and vote for anybody's team. But if you're going to vote for the best team, then vote for Emma because Emma's clearly the best team. So, all right. We also have one little piece of news that we want to share. And Emma, I'm going to turn it right back over to you so you can go ahead and provide us with this update.
Yeah, absolutely. So some slightly Obi-Wan adjacent news. The writer of the upcoming Obi-Wan comic, I didn't write down his name.
Chris Cantwell.
He donated all of his earnings from, he wrote the United States of Captain America #1. He donated all of his earnings from that issue to the Matthew Shepard Foundation in lieu of Florida's passing of the Parental Rights and Education Bill. And this is really cool because that issue actually features the first LGBTQ plus Captain America, which is absolutely amazing. And this cover is so awesome, by the way. Holy smokes. I love it. So we thought that was really cool. We saw that on Twitter. And it kind of brings us to another thing that we didn't mention last week, but we wanted to mention this week. We at Utini are really proud to support the Amidala initiative. We're backing it along with 76 other fan creators. It's a GoFundMe initiative backing Equality Texas in lieu of the harmful and frankly degrading policies towards trans youth and their families that have been instated recently. So the link to the GoFundMe can be found in the description, and any amount helps. If you can't donate, please follow and retweet the initiative on Twitter. They're at Amidala Helps. And thank you to everybody that put this together, and we're really proud to be shining some light on this.
Absolutely. And Jacob, if we want to go ahead and make sure we put the link to that in the show, in the live chat as well, so that if you guys are joining us live, you can head over there and support that.
It should
that
be in the
initiative
description, but I'll put it in the chat as well, just so you can grab that quicker. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Let us take a short break, and then when we come back, we are going to be talking about the Rise of Kylo Ren. So we will be right back.
It's the best back cover since Star Wars Episode 1 hardcover novelization. The one with young Anakin, because on the back, just to remind y'all, is a full headshot of Watto.
It's so big.
I think I brought this up on one of the earliest episodes of the Living Force ever, and I thought I'd bring it back.
Oh my God, yeah.
Series and all of Legends. What do you guys think? Could it be the X-Wing series? Might just be the most romance-intensive series ever. And we're not just talking about the scene where Corran Horn describes his love affair with an otter. I mean, a Salonian that he hooked up with her and then he broke out in chives.
Yeah, not chives.
Not
chives.
What's it called? The bumps?
Hives, dude. Hives.
Chives go on your potato.
I'm hearing you say the same thing.
Chives, what you put on the under potato. No C. Hives.
Hives.
Not chives.
What did I say?
Chives.
It's not a very common story to approach. Yeah, again, drawing the complex family tree of Jango to clone identical son to clone all identical millions of sons, but they're a generation older. So then the son is kind of all Jango's equal, but then Boba is a generation younger, but then that clone's son is Boba's age, but then is Boba his dad or his nephew or his uncle or his cousin? It's like
All right, we are back, and tonight we are talking the Rise of Kylo Ren, a comic that is in the Utini Foundational 5 of comics. If you want to check out the rest of the Foundational 5, be sure to head over to utini.com. But tonight we're talking Rise of Kylo Ren, and of course the writer for this was Charles Soule. The penciler and inker was Will Sliney. The colorist was Guru EFX. The cover artist was Clayton Crane and EM Gist. And this was first published on December 18th, 2019. And that was actually 2 days before the release of episode 9. So let's go around the room as we always do. And let's give our initial rating, a scale of 1 to 10. And I'm going to, of course, since Caleb during the break pulled on his amazing snowcat, I'm going to go to you first, sir.
Perfect. And exactly why I needed another target. Yes. I would say this was a good issue. I really like this miniseries. I think I'll start with it high and maybe say like a 9.0 to start with. Yeah, I'll say 9.0. There's a lot of really good things here. It's a very contained story, so you don't really have to know too much before and after, but it still ties into a lot of the series moving forward. As the series and more Star Wars comics have been made specifically by Charles Soule, we get more and more information. So yeah, I'll give it a full 9.0.
All right. I'm going to head over to Emma next. Emma, what is your initial score?
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a 9.2. I really enjoyed this. When it came out, it felt like we were witnessing something really special in like the lore of Star Wars and of the sequel trilogy especially. There's a lot of great callbacks, I think, to some sequel trilogy characters. I liked how they showed the like truly human and compassionate side of Ben while also showing his darkness seeping through. I mean, we get our first hints of the High Republic. That was wild. Although we didn't know it at the time, we had no idea. And yeah, I just it also made me think of the Mandalorian, not the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett too, because of that planet. So yeah, I really like it. It's one of my favorite comic miniseries, and it's on the Foundational Five for a really good reason. Because if I had to recommend any Star Wars series or miniseries for anyone to start with, it would easily, without a doubt, be this one. So great work, 9.2 for me.
Okay, Jacob, what about you?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I don't go. I try not to go be on halves because I'm, I don't know. I'm bad at scoring things. So I'm going to do 9.0. As just like Caleb, I think it's a very good comic. I don't think it definitely wasn't the first one I read in canon, but it definitely was earlier on in my canon comics experience. 'Cause I think I started reading in like 2018, so not too far off from here. And around this time was when I was first starting to like really get deeper into canon and doing my own thing with that. So it holds a special place in my heart. I think I actually bought issues on like marvel.com, like through like the Marvel Unlimited, because you can buy stuff on Marvel Unlimited's like UI. Instead of waiting for the 3 months for them to come out, you can buy like individual issues. And I think I bought like issue 4 because I didn't want to wait or something, like, which is the only time I've ever done that. So yeah, 9.0, very good. And I'm all, even though I feel like I've read this like 5 or 6 times now, I'm never disappointed to come back to it. So
Yeah, so it was an interesting thing happened today when I was rereading this. I logged my reread into Goodreads, and I noticed that I actually read this for the very first time 1 year ago today.
No kidding.
It is to the date that it was my first read through. And so my initial score is going to reflect that first score that I scored it on Goodreads. So on Goodreads, I rated it a 4 out of 5. So I'm going to give it an 8.0. Spoiler alert, that will come up because as I read it a second time, now that we are a year later, it is so full of Easter eggs and other connective tissues that you really don't get to appreciate until you come back to it. And until you're able to. So if you are new to comics, I would absolutely recommend this book, which is why it's in our Foundational 5. But you have to come back to this after you get a little bit more into it to really fully appreciate what this book does. So I'm using my score from last year as my initial score. I know it's lower, but like I said, I have a process that I'm going through tonight, and that is the start of it. So, all right, Caleb, let's go ahead and get into the summary. And you have, luckily, there's only 4 issues this time, so we each get an issue. So, Caleb, you've got issue 1.
All right, let's kick us off. Issue 1, The Rise of Kylo Ren. We start not with with the Knight of Ren, not the actual Kylo part. We start with the Knights of Ren doing a recruitment drive. Ren himself outlines the requirements of joining. One must be able to touch the shadow and make a good kill. We have a very basic interview process. We then cut to Ben Solo, standing at the ruins of the Jedi Temple that we've seen happen a few times in the movies. 3 fellow trainees arrive from off-planet, Hennix, Ty, and Vo. Appalled by Ben's claims of responsibility, the 3 vow to chase him down and bring Ben in. Ben himself retreats to the Amaxine station. It was unnamed when the comic first came out, but we've now know it is the Amaxine station where he meets a behatted Snoke, who's the one who actually destroyed the temple with the Force. Ben says that he is now interested in joining the Knights of Ren, and that is where the issue ends. We'll dig into that a little bit more
Before we go into issue 2. this is one of the few comics that the Living Force has actually reviewed, right? Is that where the Snowcat came from? Because
I believe so.
Wasn't
Yeah.
it Charles that did that? Or
I know the Snowcat came from Charles. I just don't remember why they were talking about it. I think it was because they were doing a roundtable of this. I think Eric's in the chat, so maybe he'll be able to loop us in. But Snowcat is a very popular image, almost up there with Naked Palps, but
Yeah, almost. Not quite. He's a little too close for that.
an old school Utini meme. But
Like,
yes, absolutely.
This is the level that canon memes are at. It's good, but just not as risque as Legends.
I mean, we literally was it last week or the week before where we showed a naked silo mob? Like it's. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. Anyways,
Sorry, I didn't mean to get us on a tangent. Go ahead.
On to issue 2. So Ben has a flashback to a time when he and Lars Santeca went to go find a Jedi outpost on Elfrona. Not sure if that place sounds familiar to anyone, but yeah, while they were there at this outpost, they were attacked by the Knights of Ren. Well, Luke is able to handle them and disarm them because these people aren't really well trained in the Force. But Ren, realizing the situation he's in, takes off his helmet and oh no, he's hot. And leaves leaves the helmet there behind. And they retreat when he has a bomb, dead man trigger bomb lightsaber in his hand. And we cut back to the present, where Ben finds this helmet, trying to find the Knights of Ren once again, but he's been tracked down by his former colleagues.
Oh my goodness. Issue 3. I
Almost had to do a
hope
spit
this doesn't
take
become
there.
another. Yeah, I hope this doesn't become another Living Force thirst session. But let's see where we go. All right, issue 3. Ben finds the Knights of Ren and starts his interview. When asked about his past accomplishments, Ben says that he's killed a Jedi as he recalls the fight with Ty, Vo, and Hennix. Ren interrupts and digs deeper into the past history of the three and them growing up together. Ben killed Hennix by returning a saber throw and trapped the other two in the temple. Ren allows Ben in as a junior member of the Knights, and they leave. All right, issue 4, Tyler.
All right, wrapping this up. Issue 4, on the Mine Moon of Mimban, the Knights of Ren are searching for a guarded treasure. What is that treasure? It doesn't matter because that's not the point of this little story. It is the means in which they go to find that treasure. They end up cutting down the miners. But Ty and Vo do end up catching up with them, and a lightsaber duel commences. Ty tries talking to Ben to walk back to the light, but Ren interrupts him, snaps his neck, and kills Ty. And then an enraged Ben attacks and overpowers Ren, killing him while also taking control of the Knights of Ren. But we don't leave this book before he also kills Vo. So Ben has fully embraced the dark side in this issue. And the issue and trade paperback ends with one of the most iconic comic pieces of art that we have seen in canon. And that is, of course, Ben Solo bleeding his kyber crystal, embracing his new title as Kylo Ren. And that is how we leave this book. So
Tyler, I think you mispronounced. It's Ben Swolo.
Oh yes.
I thought we were not going into thirst trap zone, but yet here we are.
Well, actually, I do actually have something to say about this. Isn't he supposed to be like kind of a kid here? Like he is jacked.
I mean,
no, I don't. I'm sure I can find it on the timeline, but like Ray's
like, should I feel
depicted
comfortable thirsting about this or not?
Yeah, I think at the very least he is like your age, so I think you're fine.
Fair. Okay, that's
Like,
good. That's
who
good.
knows what they're feeding him at the Jedi Temple? Maybe they're getting like growth supplements.
But yeah,
I mean,
like,
I don't know.
Maybe they had
I
to
don't know
build a
how
temple and lift
steroids-
all the stones or something. I don't know.
I don't know how early this is compared to episode 7, but I definitely, because of the one image we get to see of Rey, I definitely feel that it's
she
closer to it than not. So
Yeah, and
I
he's
mean,
like a decade older than Ray. Yeah, it's 28 BBY. You're good. Or ABY. You're good. He's like
Sweet,
early
good to know.
20s. So.
Okay.
Sweet, that's perfect. Yeah, but yeah, I speaking of, I'm sorry, I'm like jumping right into this. I loved seeing Ray. Oh my god, that was so good. As a Ray stan, I was like, oh my goodness. So this was in, this was
Issue
after
4?
Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah,
This
It
came out
came
2
out-
days 2 days prior
Yeah.
to the Rise of Skywalker.
the
Okay,
first
so
issue.
so Soule must have known about the dyad thing then, right? He had to have.
He might have not during his first draft, but hopefully he knew of it by the time it was sent in for
Yeah.
final review.
Well, and we see like
And we see
ethical
Palpatine.
Palps. Yeah.
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 Palpatine and Leia and
He's unfortunately close.
That's just
but
because
that's okay.
Soul played a lot of Fortnite and knew that he was in there.
Oh my god, that's good.
All right, Caleb, let's go ahead and get into our characters tonight.
Exactly.
Who is our first deep dive character that we're talking about?
One of these days, I think I might flip this under the head, but for now, we'll start with the most obvious pick, and that is Ben Solo himself, aka Kylo Ren. The man of the hour, the man of the mission. After watching his cast slide to the dark side, do we think he's a more complete character than we saw in the movies, or is this just more icing on the cake here? Like, how do we feel after seeing his kind of prequel story? Do we like him more? Do we kind of the same, ambivalent? How do you guys feel about Kylo Ren after this series?
I have a lot of thoughts about this. So I like him way more after reading this. Like it totally flipped my view of Kylo on its head after reading this, the first time, back when it came out. Because we find out something really huge, that he didn't actually burn the temple. Like that's kind of a big
Yeah.
piece of info. The other thing is like, we just get to see more of, I don't know, like his empathetic side. In the movies, we really only see him going on like angry rampages and yelling at his underlings and, hitting the walls with a saber. Like that's all we really get to see of him until the very end, when it's too late to actually enjoy that side of him. And of course, I mean, we get some of that here too. But I think I got more of a sense this time around that he reluctantly joined Snoke and the dark side, rather than he did it willingly. And that made me feel better about his journey and how it ended. It's just, I don't know, something about it it settled really well with me compared to what I got out of him from the movies.
I would agree with that, in that you almost sort of see Kylo in the movies. I could make an argument that you see him acting like a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He wants to be a bad guy. He's acting like a bad guy should act, but in his heart, he doesn't really come off as a bad guy. And this kind of explains why. Like, and this is something that we were talking about in the pre-show. Sliney captures Ben's doubt, I feel like a half dozen times throughout this trade paperback. The passing glance, the look back over his shoulder, the look of horror when he drops Vo. He's never fully committed to the dark side. He never really embraces this fall. And I think that I wouldn't say it makes him a more complete character, but I think it helps tell a better story. It provides a more fulfilling ending and an explanation for the Ben that we get and Kylo that we get in the movies.
Yeah,
absolutely. Just real quick, when I first saw episode 7, like every time I saw Kylo Ren acting out and being aggressive, I'm like, oh, he's putting on a show.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to impress, not necessarily himself, though that to a degree, but the stormtroopers around him. He's putting out that aura of I'm as dangerous as my grandfather, as Darth Vader.
Hux was a bad guy, and Snoke was a bad guy. Vader, Tarkin, like there was not a good. Oh, I shouldn't say that about Vader. The other guys, there was not a good bone in their body, and Kylo never showed that. I mean, he had glimpses of it, but you took his entire and most of his arc in the movies, and he doesn't really get to that level.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have the hot take here on this one. I definitely have softened on this view over time. Well, okay, for starters, yes, it's like just to say outright, this makes his character comic makes his character more deep and interesting and complex, and I think adds a lot to the character. However, when I read it, I know a lot of people that shared the opinion with you guys that, this isn't his fault. He's kind of pushed into the scenario. I read it. I'm like, this dude's an adult. Like, there's a lot of events that push him in that direction. But like at the end of the day, I feel like, he still had a decision he could have made to not join the dark side and still did so. So like, but I sympathize with the fact that like all these things keep happening to him that like push him down this path, but like at the end of the day, it's his decision to like keep walking down it when we get to that point.
So I don't think he feels that he had a choice because he has that discussion.
Yeah, no,
with...
I don't disagree with that, but he did. he might think he didn't, but like. Like
did I just get lawyered? Did I just get lawyered?
No, you did not. Ethically, you did not. No, like he might not have thought he had one, but like, do you not have free will? Like, oh, teen angst. My name is fake. My Solo's not a real name, and I never met Ben. This is not my real name. I want to be called Kylo. It's like, okay, dude. Like, no one chose their name. Like, okay. Like this, okay.
Like you're 18, you can change it.
I'm being hyperbolic. I do enjoy this comic, but I think it's kind of silly at times.
Maybe instead of, and this is something that I think we might get to in the discussion parts. Maybe instead of being taught how to be, instead of being provided a Jedi teacher, he should have just been provided a therapist.
Yeah. I mean, that's like that's the case with like everyone though. Like,
we should all do therapy.
Anakin Skywalker could have really benefited from some couples therapy. I'll say that right now.
Listen, I'm telling you, if the Jedi had therapy, if Padme had an OBGYN, things would be better.
Hey, look, yeah, like, oh god, Elzar Mann got like some like light therapy from Orla like once, and it like changed his life. And then some bad things happened, but we don't talk about that.
So what you're trying to say is that insurance premiums must be insane in the Star Wars universe for people not to be engaging in those healthcare sort of things.
I bet Alderaan has single payer healthcare, and that like thrills me. But yeah, everywhere
and
else.
That's why it was too dangerous to be left alive.
Yeah. Empire saw that taken and cut out of their profits, and they're like, all right, that's the real reason they want you to know.
This is coming too close to school because I'm taking a health economics class right now and I hate it. So move along.
Moving along.
Okay, so before we do, Justin makes a good comment in the chat that I wanted to say. It says it kind of makes him a Jaime Lannister-esque arc where his whole life gets ruined by a series of misunderstandings.
Have you read the book? Because he definitely banged his sister. He definitely
we didn't need to know
his twin sister.
That's not. He's talking about the Kingslayer part.
Yes,
yeah.
He is talking about.
It's like, Caleb, where are you going with this?
Yes,
we're not. Yeah, okay, we're setting that part aside. Who cares? That's not. Yeah, but,
I can see where Justin's coming.
Yeah, the
from.
Kingslayer.
Yes.
Yeah. He killed the king because the king was gonna burn the entire kingdom down. So
and he had to live with the guilt
spoilers.
of the and he had to live with the guilt of being nicknamed the Kingslayer for his entire life and live up to all of that. And instead of being able to say, well, no, I didn't kill him just because I wanted to. I killed him because he was crazy and he was going to kill all of you.
Yeah.
So
Jaime Lannister is probably my favorite character in the Game of Thrones series, sister and all. So I like that redemption arc. And that's kind of what we got a little bit with Kylo Ren here.
Yes.
Speaking of,
I agree, and I appreciate Justin's point in there. So I just wanted to point that out.
Absolutely. So the next kind of point here is we did see a little bit, just a flash of him training with his uncle Luke. How like that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed him like traveling to galaxy and doing like, golly, another like school trip to an ancient undiscovered Jedi temple with my uncle and his weird friends. Like, do we want to see more of that? Would we like to see like a series and continuation of those stories? Or would we like to see where this story goes from afterwards, like his joining the First Order? Because the First Order is never really directly mentioned, and he still goes and joins and becomes like the ace of that whole organization. So where do we want to see his story fleshed out from here?
So this is a complicated question because if I'm going to see any of it, I would rather see his indoctrination into the First Order. However, how would that be different than some of the things that we've seen in Vader over the last few years? And I feel like that could be too similar a concept. I'm kind of good with Kylo's story. I don't necessarily, I would welcome more, but I don't, if you're giving me a whole list of additional stories that I want, more from him is not high on that list. And it's not because I don't like him, but just like I like what we have, and I think that we have enough right now.
You know, I think it would make a lot of sense for him and Lor San Tekka to find their way into the shadows of the Sith book. I'm just gonna throw that out there. If Luke's going after Ochi, and that we could finally have an explanation to why like Kylo freaks out when he like hears it's a girl in The Force Awakens, if he has some background knowledge of what's going on there. But
that would be really cool, and I'm here for that.
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But again, let's all manage our expectations.
Yes,
of
yeah.
course.
I mean, that'll be a fun. It's Luke Skywalker and Lando. So that'll be a fun book regardless of what happens.
Oh, it'll be great anyway. Yeah.
Who's writing that one again? Do we
Adam
remember?
Christopher.
Okay, perfect. So maybe we'll get some fleshed out from that one. Personally, I think I would like to see more of young Ben Solo, just because I think that's a untapped resource. I want to see more of that, and it's nice to see Luke at the aspect and apex of his power. So more of that would be nice. All right, now speaking of people at the apex of their power structure here, let's talk about the man with the band, Mr. Rin himself. This antagonist, he was like a lot more chatty than you would normally associate like a super dark side warrior to be, you would think. How did you guys feel about like all of his dialogue, the way of his chatting, his like objective hotness? Like, was he, what the sort of, when you heard like he's the leader of the Knights of Ren, is this the sort of character you envisioned, and how did he fulfill your expectations of his arc?
Well, for me, the first thing I noticed as a leader of the Knights of Ren is I was shocked he had any dialogue. So that was pretty cool. Because
he was saving. They were all accumulating all that dialogue points to give to one person.
You gotta remember, it's like okay, The Force Awakens, the Knights of Ren show up in like one scene. Then Last Jedi, they literally never show up, and then Rise of Skywalker, they show up to get killed. So I was like, whoa, he talks. So that was pretty cool.
And a lot.
Yeah, he's a chatty Cathy.
Do we get confirmation that he's a Force user?
Yes.
Or does he just?
Remember he forced.
Oh, that's right.
snaps,
That's right. He does. He in the first few pages, he does levitate the lightsaber. Okay.
And remember he kills Ty.
Ty, yeah,
with the Force.
Snaps his neck.
Okay, that's right. Okay, that was it. That was the first few pages. So that's why I forgot about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
One thing I found really interesting about him is that he's very visually interesting. Like, yes, he's really chatty, but also, what kind of antagonist just like walks around without a shirt on? I don't know. It's like, I mean, not that that's like interesting in like any kind of way, but I'm just saying like, he's all charred. And was it just me, or were you under the impression that he did that to himself with the lightsaber?
That's always kind of what I thought.
Like, I think there's a scene where he's holding his lightsaber. I think he's like singeing his hand in it.
He's like grabbing it with his hand. Yeah.
Because I felt that I saw him more singed or maybe I should say less singed in the flashback part of the issues than he was in the current timeline. His chest was.
I'll have to go back and look, honestly.
Yeah, I like it could have just been my interpretation, but I felt that his chest in the flashbacks was more skin toned, and in the current timeline, it was more of that gray, hardened.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm like definitely sure that it's less charred in Crimson Reign, if that helps.
Okay.
Like I think he just looks like kind of like a normal dude in that one.
Answering Caleb's question from what do we want more of, from Kylo? I don't want anything more from Kylo. I want more from Ren. And like, I want to know his backstory.
Wait a month.
I was just saying, I know we're getting that. And that's what I'm excited for, because like, as Jacob, you just alluded to, the Knights of Ren are this like, who are they? they're this group of people that have heard so much about. We have like less content than what we had with Boba Fett during the original trilogy.
Yeah, if anyone in this chat can, without looking it up, give me the name of 3 Knights of Ren right now. I
might be able to.
Okay, what do you got? I can think of 2 right now.
They all just left me like simultaneously. Okay. I was so confident. It's because all the like Lego little figures have them, and I felt really confident for a second.
Can you tell me definitively how many people make up the Knights of Ren?
8.
That didn't sound confident.
I think it sounded confident.
I think
I don't
in
know
the
if it sounded
movie,
right.
I think in the movie it's 5. Right?
I think 8 sounded high to me, but I don't know.
The
2 I know of, or I can think of right now. There's Aplek, there's Vicrule.
Aaron's obviously right. Yeah, he says Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
There's Kylo. No, Aplek and Vicrule are like the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. They're like.
Okay. Does anybody want to take a final guess at the number?
I think it's 5.
I know.
Well, I know the number changes over time, but I think in the movie
just went to the
5.
walk and Emma,
6.
do you have Emma? Yeah, I would say according to the walk,
6.
it's 6.
Does that count Kylo or no?
It does not appear to. Vicrule, Cardo, Ushar, Trudgeon, Kuruk, and Aplek. So that does not include Ren himself, and that does not include Kylo. So I'm going to give Emma the credit there and say there was 8 members.
Yes.
Emma gets the point.
We'll take it.
There are also some other different members in Crimson Reign.
Right,
like we see Catman one, and we see a Twi'lek one.
Yeah.
And...
They bite the dust though.
Yeah.
They got it. Yeah.
So the Knights of Ren are obviously a very powerful like subgroup, and all of them are at some point force sensitive. That's kind of one of the requirements. But where do they learn their force powers? Are these all like natural, like instinct taught people, or do you think they have any formal training from Snoke/Palpatine himself?
I think they have like no training. Like I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they you know, like Luke says, like he wielded like a bludgeon or hammer or something like that, and you know, they're like surprised when Ben can do like real things with the Force. They're like, wait, what?
But you can use mind trick and not just murder.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's their latent force ability like lets them like they're better fighting. Probably they might have some better like instinctual like abilities, but yeah, I don't think they definitely don't have any real training, and I think that's probably on purpose. Like I don't think Snoke wants a lot of powerful Force users wandering around the galaxy. He just needs them as powerful as they need to be to finish the job. And again, obviously they're at least somewhat disposable.
Exactly.
And technically they're not dark side users or Sith, because I mean
they're definitely
rule
not
of
Sith.
2. Yeah.
Dark
so
side users maybe. I mean, because like they can tap into it kinda probably. But
like that's one of the prerequisites, being able to touch the dark.
Yeah, you gotta touch the
Ren himself
shadow.
says. Shadow, yes. So that is a question: is are they? You know, I guess we'll maybe see more in Crimson Reigns. Like this question might not have an answer, but was this something that the Emperor knew of and allowed to exist, or were they acting in counter to his wishes? I don't know yet. Read Crimson Reign Volume 4, maybe. When it
Issue
comes
4, yeah. It's hard for me to think that. At least at this time, you know, obviously the Emperor knows about it and is condoning it, or at least allowing it to happen. Back during Crimson Reign, I'm not so sure that would be the case based on what the mission of that overall comic series is going towards. So, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Perfect. All right. Speaking of going on, let's switch gears a little bit, and we were talking about a dark side Force user. Let's talk about some light side Force users. Ben's fellow apprentices, again, Hennix, Vo, and Ty. The first one, let's get this out of the way. Hennix, the Quarian, dies halfway through the series. As we talked about, there was a scuffle. He threw a lightsaber at Ben. Ben reflected it, and Hennix, rather than jumping out of the way, tried to stop it, but got bisected. Was his death like the end? Was like him dying like the last chance that Ben had to redeem himself, or do you think that was still an atonable accident? Did Ben kill him on purpose, or did it was it just something unforeseen?
I think
I mean, he did literally say, "I don't want to kill you.
Yeah.
Please leave me alone." So, I mean, in all, like, yes, he did do the killing, but he tried to say, like, y'all better get away from me or else, something bad is gonna happen. So I definitely blame him for his death because he did actually do the thing, but he tried to hold on to that, like, goodness for as long as he could.
Yeah, I definitely think, because I don't think that was like the last straw, because I honestly do think that if Rin didn't kill Ty, then things probably would have been different. I think he probably could have swayed him at least to like maybe like stop and reconsider. But then also, yeah, I also would argue that regardless, this is not like the last irredeemable act, because he then goes on to be a genocidal maniac for like several years and then is redeemed in the end. So, and same with Vader. Like, there's always
Everybody has a redemption story in Star
redemption.
Wars.
They might not let you live after that, but you can be redeemed regardless of what happens. Except for Palpatine. That's like the one dude that like can't be redeemed, but that's,
Well, this is a huge
Never say
Star
never.
Wars question. Like that's the whole point of the Jedi, is everyone can be redeemed. Eventually, maybe Palpatine could be redeemed, and I think that's like the core of the Jedi issue.
That just goes. I think that just like could it in the universe maybe, but like from a storytelling perspective,
that's a Star Wars what if.
Yeah, from a storytelling perspective, I just don't think it makes sense.
Not really. Like, he is the embodiment of ultimate evil, but I think it's something that a Jedi would always try to give him a chance. Maybe. Speaking of giving people chances, though, Vogue, the more aggressive of the three, like right out the gate, they come back to the temple, they see it burning, they see Ben there. Ben says, "Don't follow me," and she's immediately like, "Oh, we gotta follow him." Was her insistence in like single-mindedness pursuit of Ben the right option? Like, even Ty calls it out, like, "I think we need to go tell his mom and tell other people," but she says, "No, we have to find Ben." Like, obviously it makes a good story for the chase, but do we think she made the right decision there?
So I have this as one of our discussion questions, and I think it's fine to bring up now. Is the Jedi, we see the Jedi being rebellious, these three being rebellious in this, in a bad way. First, they decide, they make the decision, even though we know Ben is much stronger than us, we're not going to tell anybody. We're just going to go off on our own and go find him. Even not going to tell Leia, not going to tell Han, not going to tell anybody. And then Vo continuing to be kind of on her own. Is this a Jedi failure as a whole, or is this just Padawans being Padawans and saying, "I'm the king of the world, the equivalent of modern day teenagers, I'm invincible and I can do whatever I want"?
Like, that's a hard discussion question, because I said we don't know how good of a teacher Luke was to these people. Like, we know Luke is a very powerful Jedi master, but like, I think he's not the best teacher, because he didn't have. I think that's something that we're seeing a little bit in Mandalorian season, Book of Boba Fett. He wasn't an amazing teacher to Rey. He didn't even barely taught his own sister. I feel like they're trying to set up the fact that Luke was a flawed individual, and that his biggest failing was that he felt the extreme pressure to pass on his rules and his knowledge, but he failed in that execution there. So again, this is me reading very deeply into this, and maybe incorrectly, but I feel like Luke ultimately felt like his training of these people, of his students, was a failure. So that's why he retreats to the planet and the Force Awakens, to try to essentially atone for his inability to save the galaxy once and for all.
Emma, do you have any thoughts on Vo as a character, or just as you know, the more general question of brashness and rebelliousness of these Jedi Padawans, I guess, not really even Jedi.
Yeah, I think Vo is probably my favorite out of the three of them. I thought she was like, she looked at the situation more maturely, I would say, because I feel like Hennix and Ty kind of had more of like a personal connection to them, to Kylo. So yeah, I mean, I liked her character, although I remember seeing, like, when this comic came out, a lot of people said that she was like annoying or something. But like I never really got that. I don't know. I'm glad. I don't know. I hope that we see more about these Padawans in the future, and I think honestly we might go backwards a little bit because of what we've seen of, you know, the beginnings of Luke's temple. I hope we, like, this panel that's up on the screen right now, I hope we get to see that, you know, see them like learning how to, you know, I know it's more than lifting rocks, but lift rocks.
Yeah.
And one thing we've definitely established is even if there is a galactic-wide purge of Jedi, there are still ones that'll fit through the cracks. So who knows how many of these people actually survive this whole era of Jedi hunting. It's not like the First Order was in control of the galaxy for a terribly long time.
Yeah, they also had like, yeah, okay, I don't need to get into like there's people on the internet that'll debate over the borders of the First Order and how much area of the galaxy they actually controlled. It's less than you'd think, I believe. Like, they've shown it in, I think it was in like that Battles of the or the whatever there's the Insider Edition, whatever Battles book that I think showed that they actually didn't have like full control of the entire galaxy, which I think makes sense for, you know, kind of a startup military operation with no like real governmental force. But anyways, yeah, please give me Ezra or Cal Kestis or someone to make it through.
Tano.
Yes.
But I think now that Book of Boba Fett has told that story of like the start of this academy, I think we are hopefully going to be allowed to see some more of these stories come up through either comics or, you know, comics would be great. We'll take novels too, but yeah, I hopefully we'll get a little bit more of that soon.
Absolutely. So speaking of inner training there, and the very last one we want to talk about is Ty, maybe my favorite of the three apprentices. He was the closest to Ben in many, many ways. There's a big like kind of like bouncing point where him and Ben are fighting, and Ben disarms him and is standing over Ty, ready to deal a killing blow, but just cannot. Do you think Ben could have ever really killed Ty without being pushed over the edge as Bryn did to kill him? Or do you think their connection was too deep? What do you think of the connection between these two?
I mean, I could tell that they definitely had a really strong connection when they were kids. Like, you know how like when you're in school, when you're young, and you always kind of have this like one really like good friend. Like that's kind of like what I viewed them as. Like, I imagine that Ben was kind of felt like lonely at the temple, because I bet a lot of the kids were like, oh, you know, teacher's pet, you know, his teacher's his uncle,
Teacher's nephew, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I bet he felt kind of lonely, and maybe Ty, I mean, he might have been the only one that was like somewhat friendly with him, I guess. I don't know.
I think if Ben ended up killing Ty, we get a much more, I can't think of the word right now, committed
Complete
bad guy.
villain.
Yes,
Like,
I think
complete.
I think that is something that he could never have forgiven himself for, which would have driven his anger and driven his hatred and driven his fuel, and we would have gotten a much different Kylo Ren if he would had actually done that.
I'd agree. Yeah,
So
like he didn't like. I don't know if like Rin really was his good kill, because I don't think like he doesn't have like an emotional attachment to Rin the way he did
Right,
like
right.
Tai. So and I think like after he's done, after like killing Rin, he's just like, you know, whatever. Like just I don't think if he had to pick one he liked the least, it was probably Vo to begin with. So yeah, they seem like they butt heads a lot more naturally than him and Tai. So yeah.
All right, we've got a couple of discussion questions that I wanted to present to the group here. Our first one, we all know that Snoke was created for some reason that we haven't fully been provided yet, and we were able to. It was. Do we think this was the reason that Snoke was created? It was to turn Ben all along.
Absolutely. I am personally convinced of that. It makes perfect sense that, you know, Emperor Palpatine would essentially create a puppet to go to and try to corrupt Ben Solo the next, you know, in the era of the Chosen One sort of series. And like he tried to do it with Luke, but failed. Then the next one in line would be Ben. So of course he would want to try to approach him and do that. Of course, now Ben, being at least a decent student, would have known that, oh yeah, this dude called Emperor Palpatine is a bad dude and obviously evil. But by creating essentially a persona, like a fake person with a new past to try to corrupt him, like that's such a perfect opportunity to get into Ben's psyche there. Like if he had approached as Palpatine, there's no way that Ben would have fallen for that, I don't think.
Yeah.
So, this is
I
where
would just say that like, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Emma. No, I was gonna say this is where I get a little lost in the timeline here, because technically Palpatine is dead,
Correct.
Yes.
but
Mhm.
he's not. So, I like from a logic perspective, it's like, how can Palpatine influence Ben more directly when he doesn't exist? Obviously he does, and we just don't realize it, but it's just it's hard to fill in those. That's a very core piece of information that I need in order to understand all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it's confusing, but I think that Snoke was honestly created to influence someone. I don't know if that was Ben like specifically, but I think that like the plan all along was like for Palpatine to be influencing someone. Who is the right person? I think he was probably waiting to see, and it just happened to be Ben because he comes from these, you know, or at least one person very strong in the Force, another, you know, with great piloting skills, things like that. And I think maybe he just pounced on the opportunity and had Snoke be his like vehicle to the living world. Otherwise, how could he get anything done, you know?
You know, he was kind of stuck on Exegol for the longest time.
Exactly. I mean, at least he gave him a nice hat when he left. But
Did give him a nice hat. You know, it's probably quite the upgrade going to the Maxian station after living in a test tube for a while on Exegol. So
yeah, great point.
Because
went from a test tube to a what's that thing? You know, the sealed jar with the food with the plant in it.
Like a greenhouse.
terrarium?
Terrarium.
Oh, terrarium.
Yes. I was about to say, some people on this team are obsessed with
and we're led to believe that his disfigurement was caused by Luke, right? Isn't that isn't that what's sort of implied by Ben at the end of issue 1?
Yes, and that they didn't flesh that out. Maybe there was like a Force battle that, you know, Snoke came in and destroyed the temple. Maybe Luke reached out for the Force. There's some sort of fight there.
At the same time, like Snoke in a jar still has like the same scar down his forehead or whatever. Like, so I don't.
Yeah. There's a lot of
maybe it's just a sympathy
around
scar.
Snoke, and but anyways, so let's move on from that, and let's. There are a lot of Easter eggs and teases for the High Republic. Was there a bigger tease all along in the Knights of Ren being sort of nihil copycats or legacies? You know, they wear masks, they were all across the galaxy. They have a "we take what we want because we are strong" philosophy. They don't really have a central purpose, excluding Marchion Ro, but they just kind of do what they do because they want to do it. So are we seeing kind of nihil copycats?
It's actually a great point that I have literally never thought of before. I mean, if we ever see the Nihil get like a force connection ever, like, I mean, they kind of do already with the leveler, but
that's an interesting, maybe that is the connection that we haven't
maybe.
seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, if we ever see like a very solid connection between the Nihil and the Force, I will be 1,000% convinced that they turn into the Knights of Ren at some point. Like,
I could see that too.
They follow like a really strong singular leader that
Who's
is
also kind of sexy.
intimidating. Also kind of sexy.
That very
You're
true.
not wrong. You're not wrong. Maybe that's just a requirement. Who knows? I could totally see that. I love that.
Yeah, my guess is so obviously the Nihil have to go away in some capacity. I think they get like in phase 3, they get absolutely just like pounded by the Republic, like just completely like wiped off the face of the galaxy at some point. Like they can't just like be allowed to like go off quietly. Like they have to like suffer like extreme losses. And I just think there might be like a small group of them that like somehow like makes it out and then like goes off and like runs off into like the unknown regions or wild space or something like that. And then maybe the Knights of Ren coming out of it. I don't know.
Or maybe just the Knights of Ren were just like, what's our aesthetic? And they went through a history book and like, ooh, these Nihil guys look kind of cool. Look at those fun masks.
That's retro. I like it.
All right. And our last discussion question, we don't see Han Solo at all in this entire book. We see Leia for 2 panels. There's one, I believe, in issue 4, and then I believe there's one in issue 1 or 2 when the Padawans are discussing whether or not they want to go talk to her. Is this absence? Are we supposed to take this absence as a metaphor for their absent parenting, as being famous parents and politicians and smugglers who do whatever they want? Are we supposed to imply that they were absent parents? And if so, how much of that absence do we think has added to their son being in the position that he is in?
Well, we know that he at least would visit them sometimes. I don't think, well, probably not Han, let's be real, but like he visited Leia sometime because like when he hopped in his ship at the very beginning, he's like, "Do you want me to go? You want to go see your mom?" He's like, "Nope."
That's true.
So like at least like he got some like maybe got to visit on weekends. I don't know how that works when he
I also feel, doesn't he kind of say in anger at some point in the sequel trilogy that he was left with his uncle Luke?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think.
Well, we also know that he's a very emotional sort of thing. He likes to play up his own victim complex.
Again, it just comes back to the dude needed some therapy. Probably would have solved a lot of his issues.
Yes, Justin says without a doubt, Ben has abandonment issues.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't it in like I don't know, Aftermath or like maybe like Bloodline or something that talked about how Han was gone a lot? And obviously Leia was
Bloodline.
Working.
That was Bloodline. Yes.
Yeah. So like, I think there's definitely some evidence there to show that he's he has some emotional. So I'm gonna bring it back to Dr. Phil again.
I was gonna say, so we need some
unfinished
family
emotional
counseling.
Business.
Yeah. So not only does Ben himself need a personal therapist, but we need to have some solo family counseling here. Really kind of discuss this family dynamic here, because it's clearly not working.
We need to write into Dr. Phil, say, Dr. Phil, it's urgent and we need your help. It could be life or death, because it is.
Or a galaxy.
Yeah. Who would be the best therapist in the Star Wars universe at this time period for the Solo family?
Ooh.
Okay, so we're talking best or most efficient? Because I could argue that Yoda could be the best, but Yoda would be the best, but nobody would understand what the hell he's saying. So
I want to go. I was gonna say like I want to go with someone that's alive, but like we know so little about this time period that's gonna like constrain us quite a bit.
I actually think I have a really good answer.
Okay.
Maz Kanata.
I
think she'd be good. She's very wise.
I like that one.
She's been around.
I like that more than
play both sides too.
Okay, but what about this one? And he is here, and he knows the family very well, and he's programmed with over 6 million forms of communication. Like emotional communication have to be one of them.
Han will never accept that. is the problem.
Well, that's his own problem. Like,
Well,
that's
yeah,
the
but
problem.
you
We
have
need
to have
work
buy
through
you have to
this.
have buy-in from your clients. I'm a throw. If Andrew Bell listens to this episode, you tag me in Slack. I think we need to bring in the only character I know of that has actual therapist experience in Star Wars, and that's
Oh God.
ITO. The
I knew you were gonna
torture
say
the
that.
droid.
torture droid turned therapist in Alphabet Squadron.
Oh Lord.
Oh my God. I actually loved that so much.
Is it morbid? But yeah, but like, it's fine.
Yeah, but it's also a morbid Ben killing
Yeah,
his childhood
Ben's
friends.
already emo, so like it kind of works. It probably actually would
I
appeal
think
to
I
him.
think they would be good friends, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here racking my brain. I'm trying to think of a solid, dare I say, wholesome family in Star Wars that doesn't have issues, and I'm really struggling right now. I think every single, I mean, most of the time we spend with the Solo or with the Skywalker Solo family, so which is
Bail and
What do you
Leia.
got?
Yeah,
Bail
probably that's
Organa
probably
and
about
his,
it.
and his
yeah.
adopted daughter Leia.
That might be it.
That's true.
Like she
Bail,
didn't even
Bria, and
she
Leia.
never knew that she was adopted. One, they're keeping a secret, but two, like him and his wife were like, perfectly adopting of this like strange baby that they found. And she never once questioned that she was of the same lineage of them.
I mean, the Larses were pretty tight.
Yeah,
Like,
but I'm pretty sure we're gonna learn in
Well,
May that they
yeah.
were not that they weren't the best
mean,
parental figures.
Seems like
They tried their
there's
best.
about to be some issues, but like
Yeah.
especially in Attack of the Clones, they like welcomed in Padme. I thought that was so sweet.
I think Owen and Brew did the best with a very difficult situation they were put in.
Mhm.
It's true. It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
what would you do if an old wizard came to your door with a baby and said, "Here, take this baby"?
Yeah, here's this baby. By the way, his father might come and murder you, but here's this baby. Have fun.
But don't change his name.
Yeah. So
I'll be right over
All
there
right.
if you need me.
Well, that is I can't think of a good answer. So I think that either Bail might be the best, or Maz. But Maz is gonna I think still talk in riddles a little bit. So I don't necessarily know if Han would have the patience for Maz.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I find it fun when people talk in riddles. I mean, not if I needed something serious though. So I see your point.
All right, let's go ahead and start wrapping the show up. And we are going to go ahead and give our final ratings. As a reminder, our initial ratings, Caleb gave it a 9, Emma gave it a 9.2, Jacob gave it a 9, and I gave it an 8. Caleb, let's go ahead and start with you. And what is your final score for this?
I think I'm going to keep this as a 9.0. It has a few minor issues, but overall, I think this is a fantastic story. I'm really glad I read it. Easily a great stopping on point if you've never really gotten into the comics before. I've read this maybe now like 3 or 4 times, and every time I read it, I enjoy it more. So yeah, 9.0, solid. A+ deserves its place in our foundational 5.
All right, so that goes from a 9 to a 9.5. Emma, your original score is a 9.2. Your final score is what?
I think I'm gonna stay. I think I'm gonna go bump it up a tiny bit to a 9.3 because I don't know. I always like our conversations, and I feel like it makes me see it in a different light. So I would feel weird if I didn't increase it a tiny bit. I just still think that this improves, especially after this conversation. I realized how much it improved Ben's character, like especially in the movies with Kylo and stuff. I don't think I realized how much it affected me in that way. And just the tie-ins to the Rise of Skywalker, I think also kind of tied up a few loose ends. And just, yeah, I mean, seeing that he has always had a soul, he's never wanted to hurt anyone. And I think that's really important for people to know. If there's anything to say about it, I guess I wish that this would have been shown in like TV or movies, so
Right.
that other people could know so too, because I think it's a great story that really makes you look at the sequel trilogy quite a bit different, and I wish that more people got to experience it that way.
All right, we got a 9.5. We've got a 9.3. Jacob, are we sticking with the 9, or are we increasing your score as well?
I think I'm gonna stick with a 9, just on the principle that I like to keep it to halves, and I don't know if it's enough to put me up to a 9.5. It's closer to a 9.5 than a 9.0, but I'm gonna stick at the 9.0. That didn't make sense. Anyways, 9.0. It's no rounding in my arbitrary universe of scoring. Yeah, I think it was a very good book. Obviously this added a lot to a character that I think needed it. And my one I actually was talking about this earlier before we went live. My one complaint is like the art, the quality of the art is fantastic. There are just a few times throughout the series that I'm not really sure what is happening. Like some action shot where it's like there specifically the one, this is so nitpicky, but like there's like when him and Ty are fighting at the end, like there's like it shows his wrist go like this and his lightsaber fly out of his hand, and I'm like, I have no idea what happens there. I don't like, it doesn't look like he gets his lightsaber like parried out of his hand. I can't like, I'm like, I don't think he broke his wrist, but like there's a sound effect next to it. Like, I don't know what happens. It didn't get cut off. It's in the next panel. Like, I'm not sure what happened there. There's a few things where I'm like, it's hard for me to follow. But overall, it's still a very solid book. There's a reason it's in our foundational 5. So I'm sticking with a 9.0.
All right. I had the lowest score at the beginning with an 8.0, but that was more because of what I read a year ago. My current score, I am bumping this up all the way up to a 9.5, mainly because this adds to the Star Wars lore, full stop. It adds to Kylo's story. It adds to Star Wars comics world or comics. We didn't even, we'll get to the Easter eggs here in a minute. There are so many Easter eggs in this book, and this is the beginning. Like, we don't know what we got from this when we got it in 2019. And the more Charles Soule writes in Star Wars, the more gifts he provides to us, and the more we realize this was in Rise of Kylo Ren, or this was in, something else that he wrote. And I love that. And to really have these comics be all interconnected like that is really, really special. It's a great standalone story, as which is why it's in our foundational 5, but it also really ties well into so many other books. So it's a great piece. So I would highly recommend it.
Exactly. We're about to get into the Easter eggs, but I think this might be the first thing we've gotten where there are more Easter eggs for things that came later than for Easter eggs for things that came before. Like, he planted these Easter eggs knowing they would hatch later.
That's a very good point.
That's true.
So
it is a side effect of the fact that we're doing this several years after it came out, where it's like, we don't know what happened in War of the Bounty Hunters that might be referenced 2 years from now. So
right,
it's a bit of a, yeah. But anyways, Easter eggs, here we come. So we start off with Vo mentions how this is not like a straight up Easter egg, but no, Vo mentions how the Force sings with Luke's presence, which I thought was like kind of a, I don't know if it's a nod to Avar Kriss, but that definitely sounds like something she would say. Mm-hmm. Ben's ship is called the Grimtosh, which is an Alderaanian mythological creature, and it is also a piece in Dejarik, aka Star Wars Space Chess. They visit the Amaxian station to go visit Snoke, which is seen in Into the Dark. Snoke later gets a transmission there from Brendol Hux, which is the father of the General Hux from the movies, and he's seen in Aftermath, the Aftermath trilogy, starting off like the fledgling First Order. This is the first place that the High Republic has ever been mentioned by name, chronologically speaking, like in the real world. This is the first time it had ever been mentioned. Project Luminous had been announced by this point, but no one knew what it was about yet. So this is the first time you actually get to see High Republic mentioned in text. They visit the outpost on Elfrona that was used by Loden Greatstorm, Bel Zettifar, Indira Stokes, and Porter Engle in Light of the Jedi. Luke mentions having found a lightsaber in a trapped temple to Ben, which was from the 2020 run where he finds the Temple Guard lightsaber. Luke also mentioned
Guarded by the Grand Inquisitor, who we've now seen in live action.
Yes.
Kind of a quick aside.
That's right.
Luke then mentions finding Jocasta News stash, which was was in Dark Lord of the Sith, the Darth Vader comic. And then we also see, speaking of which, we see a lightsaber gun in the Outpost, as well as a Jedi and Sith holocron. And then when Hennix opens a holocron in a flashback, that is Avar Kriss. So it's the first time we saw her. We just didn't know who it was at the time. So there you go.
All right, another impressive list of Easter eggs. Thank you, Jacob, for compiling that. Emma, what do we have coming up for us next week, as well as our sister shows in the coming weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. So next week for us, we have something a little bit punny for you guys. It's Imperial March. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about the handlers of Darth Vader. So that should be really interesting. Another thing for Legends Look Back, they are doing tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern time right here on YouTube. They're doing the best babies of the EU, which I absolutely love. It's to celebrate our very own Emily Daybeck's pregnancy. She's very close to her due date, so hopefully she'll be there tomorrow. I'm crossing my fingers. That'll be fun. Looking forward to that. And on Monday on the Living Force, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on YouTube, Midnight Horizon Roundtable Part 1. That was supposed to be last week, but instead we got a little thirsty, and that's okay. We're gonna get serious next week. So, yeah, Charles will be back, and that'll be great. It's such a good book, so I can't wait to hear them talk about it.
All right. But until then, I think that is going to do it for this week's episode of The Cosmic Force. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show right here on YouTube, where you can hear us live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We also encourage you to subscribe to the audio version of our show on whichever podcast platform you listen to. You can also follow us on Twitter and tweet at the show at Cosmic Force Show to stay informed about all things Star Wars comics, or you can also follow the hosts individually. I'm at Ty Rags, Emma is at Irma Jedi 26, Caleb is at Caleb Lamanek, and Jacob is at Jacob Bosch. For reviews, articles, and news for the rest of the expanded universe, be sure to visit utini.com. We encourage you to join our Utini Discord community by going to utini.com/Discord. And you can help support the show by heading to patreon.com/Utini and start receiving exclusive perks starting at just $5 a month. A special thank you to OK Endar, Brian Dooley, Earl Q, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, as well as Matt Bellington, Elizabeth Cloutier, Freddie C., and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. Thank you, all of you, for your continued amazing support. Thanks again to Emma, Caleb, and Jacob for hosting with me tonight. Thank you to everybody who joined us live in the chat. And a special thank you to our listeners for joining us wherever and whenever you are. We really do appreciate you. We hope to see everybody next week. But until then, may the Force be with you.